Marketing, like a symphony, is a harmonious blend of instruments, but without the proper direction, it's just noise. Welcome to the Supply Chain Marketing Show, presented by SupplyChainBrain Media. From the art of storytelling to the science of data, we'll uncover marketing strategies that drive success. In this episode, Ralph Henderson and Brad Berger explore 2025 supply chain marketing and beyond.
We're providing information to a multi-generational workforce. The most successful campaigns with us, mix a lot of the 5 pillars you were talking about.
And now, here's your marketing guide and host, Ralph Henderson.
So, you're responsible for marketing. What does that mean? It's a good question. In the supply chain space, what we have found out is that really comes down to about 5 different areas. Now, just so you know, we actually met last year as a cohort with 12 executives in the supply chain space and 100 supply chain marketing people, and we came up with these. So let's think about these as we go through the show, the supply chain marketing show, and your responsibility as a supply chain marketing professional. A lot of what we're going to be talking about over the several months and years that we're going to come together as a show is going to help you in these areas. These areas are branding, lead generation, content development, SEO and online, and earned media. That is a big responsibility. Now, whether you are currently a supply chain marketing professional, you want to be, or you're an executive that has influence over this, keep in mind all of these things interact. Just like the supply chain isn't really one chain, it's multiple chains that come together. Well, so is supply chain marketing. So all of those things I mentioned are actually interlaced with one another. And we typically try to the best of our ability, put all of these things together, because at the end of the day, we need to have a good brand. Brand is something that we value as a consumer. It's something we value as business owners and marketing professionals. Lead generation is the lifeblood of our revenue generation. However, we can really have a difficult time with this if our branding isn't in line. And then we have to think about content development or content syndication. I mean, just like when you're buying something, you're looking at what it is in brand, in quality, and who has reviewed it. All of those things matter. And we, as supply chain marketing professionals, need to be thinking about that. And look, there is no marketing without SEO or online. It's here. And it's not going away, and it's getting bigger. As a matter of fact, stay tuned, because we have an episode coming up talking about even AI. And I know a lot of people are talking about it, but it is important. And then finally, earned media. A lot of people seem to either tend to lean heavily on earned media and forget the other 5 or 4 areas, or they tend to lean not at all on earned media. And both of those are really probably not in your best interest. So we want to look at all of these. We want to have fun. We know the supply chain marketing professional is a challenging, rewarding, sometimes maybe undervalued position, and we get that. So at the Supply Chain Marketing Show, brought to you by SupplyChainBrain Media, we're going to address all of this. And we want you to know we're here. Please reach out. Let us know what you think. Give us some topics to talk about. But please know you are front and center for who we're going to be gearing this show to. Now, I and you should be very excited about who we have as our first guest. Our first guest for the Supply Chain Marketing Show is none other than the actual founder, president, and publisher of SupplyChainBrain. Now, for those of you who don't know, SupplyChainBrain is, in my opinion, the best supply chain media company out there. They are information, they are education, they are the people who bring our industry to us in the way of editorial, advertising, articles, case studies, white papers, ebooks. They are a a giant in our industry as it relates to how we can be better and more impactful. So by all means, please help me welcome the president and publisher of Supply Chain Brain and Supply Chain Brain, Brad Berger. And I also want you to know that Brad Berger is somewhat of a pickleball savant. But I'll let Brad tell you about that. Brad, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Ralph. Appreciate it.
No, I appreciate you. So listen, you founded Supply Chain Brain long before supply chain was a thing back in the mid 90s. And it's really been something that's very helpful for the supply chain marketing professional. But even before that, there was Keller Publishing, and Keller Publishing, who is the owner of Supply Chain Brain, has been around for quite a while. Why don't you tell the audience a little bit more about them and kind of walk us through where we are today?
Yeah, sure. I mean, been around a while is quite an understatement. Actually, it's Jerry Keller's grandfather that launched the National Bottlers Gazette in 1882, one of the oldest privately owned trade publishers in the country. And it later became a Beverage World magazine. And we had Beverage World for over 100 years in the family. And yeah, it's over 140 years old, Keller Publishing. And throughout that history, it was magazines. We were publishing magazines, and that was it. And in fact, a lot of international publications. We had a reputation of reaching many countries around the world with our magazines, and then things started to change in the early to mid 90s, and I came back from Europe to launch Supply Chain Brain 28 years ago, first ever supply chain magazine, really, and then online hit, and you said online is here, Ralph? You sure? I can tell you some publishers are still asking that question, believe it or not. Should I get online? And in fact, a funny story, we had a gentleman, Craig, who was running around the office all the time in the early to mid 90s. We had about 10, 12 publishers in the office, and he was saying, hey, websites, this is going to be the thing, websites. And we all thought he was nuts. What's this guy talking about, websites? And we all had to do them. We all had to create them. We didn't really want to. It was annoying. And we basically gave the online stuff away. We were publishing magazines, and it was running ads in magazines. And it was pretty much with all of our competitors an apples to apples thing in terms of the products you sold. Full page ads, half page ads, quarter pages, inserts. We all had pretty much the same. The differentiation was always the audience, of course, and the type of content we're producing. But then everything changed, and of course, well, I say of course, but I mean, within 5 years, when the recession hit and print was kind of on the way down, Supply Chain Brain went from 98% print advertising revenue to 80% digital, 20% print within 5 years. And there were a lot of publishers that didn't make that pivot, and they certainly didn't make it fast enough. And a lot of them are not here with us today. And so, and then of course, a lot has happened since then, and we could get into that. But that's kind of I mean, we folded a lot of our print magazines that just weren't going to work the way they were structured, but everything else went digital, and mostly digital.
Yeah, and I got to tell you, it's a remarkable story. And one of the things that attracted me to Supply Chain Brain was the early adopter. I mean, even with what we're doing right now with the show and helping supply chain marketing professionals, for those of you who are listening and watching this show, you have to understand, as a producer and a promoter, I have done the research, and you may or may not find this hard to believe. There's really nothing else out there like this. It's amazing for the supply chain marketing professional to help them with professional development and to really walk through what we're going right through right now, which is what I think is a revolution. There's nothing else out there like this. So when Supply Chain Brain Media and I got together and talked about doing this philanthropic initiative and started it and kicked it off last year with a 3-day summit that we did to find out what was going on in the industry, that was no easy task or easy feat. And Brad will let you know it was also not inexpensive. So they're all in here, folks. I just want you to know that, and that's really important. So Brad, let's talk about kind of what you've seen in the last 30 years with Supply Chain Brain as it relates to advertising, and talk to the supply chain marketing professional, because I think one of the things we do is we tend to look at things through our own glasses. Like some people are big trade show people and trade show only, and some people are big lead gen people and lead gen only. And some folks, content and what have you are very important. One of the things that I admire is that you tend to do the lead gen, branding, content development, all that very well. So talk to them about what that has looked like through the last 30 years.
Well, first, I'm going to say this. When we were all starting out as publishers, a lot of us were very, we thought we knew it all. We don't need any help. I would get phone calls and, oh, hey, Brad, I can, whatever magazine I was working on, I can help you with this product or that product. I don't need this guy. I don't understand. I know what I want to do. I'm so glad that changed. Whenever it changed. And I started picking up the phone and listening to people's ideas, because in the last 15 to 20 years, or however long it's been, the pace at which new technologies, new ways of communicating to our audience, almost all online, is going. I can't do this all by myself. We can't. We need partners. We need to look at all these new solutions in publishing, and we don't have to certainly implement them all, obviously, but the pace is just immense now. As fast as changes in supply chains are, and as fast as technology is growing, and the visibility into the data and the managing the data and making it all work for you, that it's going at the same pace in terms of publishing. We're providing information to a multi-generational workforce. They want information in different ways. We have to really consider how they want to get that information, provide it, help companies tell stories. We can do so much more these days than we used to be able to do through video and podcasts and webinars and all the different forms. And let's face it, some people, they love our podcasts. Some love our videos. Some our webinars. Some subscribe to our newsletters. We have 15 of those these days. You need to kind of play in all the different spaces and help companies tell the story. And what we feel is in a more educational way, less salesy, so it really gets them engaged. And again, you do it in many forms. We still have our magazine. It's about 5% of our business now, but there's so many ways to communicate to the audience now.
We'll be back after this brief message.
In today's complex supply chain, marketing has never been more critical. But are you leveraging the full potential of your marketing efforts? Supply Chain Brain Media created 2 resources to help you discover what's new and what works. The Supply Chain Marketing Group series is designed to educate you on services and how to implement them into your marketing program. On the Supply Chain Marketing Show, hear firsthand how experts are implementing the elements from the 5 rings of supply chain marketing to drive results. Ready to elevate your marketing game? Schedule a 30-minute consult today. Email Morgan at supplychainbrainmedia.com. Supply Chain Brain Media, your guide to marketing success.
It's interesting. You talk about having the magazine. And I remember, back when you were deciding whether or not to keep that. I mean, we're talking 08 to 10 to 11. range, and how your readers wouldn't let it go. So you went from a monthly to a quarterly. Obviously, you have the themes now. It's more of a thematic magazine, but there's still quite an audience for that magazine, and it's still very good.
There's quite an audience, but some people or agencies will call up and say, "Hey, can I get your editorial calendar?" And I say to them these days, and we haven't had an editorial calendar in over 10 years. I mean, it's more than that. But why? Because any story we want to tell, we can tell immediately.
Right.
We don't force our editors to have to stick to a specific schedule unless we're doing, as you know well, a specific webinar series, and we want to have a certain theme for each program in the webinar series. That's one thing. But in terms of just overall approach to educating our audience, providing information that comes up at any given time, to be able to put it out there is right away. I mean, that's a huge change in our business. And look, some magazines still have editorial calendars, still follow along with the structure. As I said before, there are some that haven't really even transitioned fully online yet at all, which is amazing. But that's their decision.
And obviously you decided to do that early on. And, I am amazed at how powerful that has been. You talked about exponential change. Let's touch on that for a second. I remember hearing from one of the highest level position people at the largest think tank in the world. Now, certainly our audience is free to look that up because both of those are very well known. But I will tell you, this was about 5 or 6 years ago. And what he was talking about is the exponential change in the supply chain space. He was talking about how we came from, the automotive line, the production line, and how we went through World War II and what happened with the revolution there. And then, of course, the internet that we've already alluded to. And then he started talking about kind of what was getting ready to happen. And this was really before generative AI caught on in the last couple of years. But as a think tank, they saw this coming. And so what they were telling the supply chain audience is we have to get out of the linear thinking. And that means whether you're in engineering, operations, or advertising and marketing, and you've got to get into the exponential thinking. So I remember going backstage in the green room because I was producing the gig, and I looked at him and I said, "Fascinating talk. That was wonderful. I'm so glad you told us. Can I ask you a question?" And he said, "Sure." I said, "How do we do that?" And he laughed and he said, "That's the next talk." So I would ask you as the publisher, when it comes to advertising, when it comes to, look, as consumers, we buy things certain ways. We Google, we check reviews, we look at, quality or what have you. But when we're responsible for bringing something to market, are we necessarily in the same place? So as it relates to exponential thinking in advertising and kind of becoming that entity that, dare I say, makes us more well-known or even famous in the industry, what would you tell the audience, kind of what has been this hockey stick, if you will, of an exponential change industry, and what can we do about it now in advertising?
Years ago, we had a survey we did about social. Is anybody using that in B2B? And the numbers were fairly low. And within 5 years, all of a sudden they started to really pop up. And how do we deal with this now? And then new forms of social. And it keeps going. And I'm not saying SupplyChainBrain is going to jump on TikTok tomorrow, but we're not ruling it out. It's right. I'm not ruling anything out now because of how fast things are going. You have to still keep your eye on the ball here. You can't come to us with a name of a company that nobody knows and say, "Give me leads, and that's all I want." And we're going to go get you those leads, even though nobody has any clue about who you are. They're just going to magically say, "Oh yeah, let me check out these guys." You've got to have a mix. You've got to be able to keep some kind of brand awareness going while we're helping you tell a story. and in whatever forms we tell it in, get the SEO involved as well. There's the most successful campaigns with us these days are those that mix a lot of the 5 pillars you were talking about. Earned media. A lot of our advertisers don't take advantage of this earned media. We offer a lot of options there, and they just don't take advantage of it. You should do that. You should keep, as I said, the branding, the lead gen, the content development, the SEO. There should be a mix. It can get very noisy now. We have a lot of programs. It can be, if you just look at it, you'd be, oh my God, where do I go with this? We have ways to make it easier for you to understand and manage and all of that. But you just have to be open to exploring all these new opportunities that are out there, and they come every single year.
Yeah, and I appreciate that, and I want to touch on what you just talked about in just a second on how you have done such a great job. I mean, and look, as a supply chain marketing professional, it's important for me to know what mix of those things I need. But one of the things that I think we would be remiss if we didn't talk about is how little or much valued what we do is in the supply chain space. And look, guys, I'm going to be real with you here for a second. I have been in this space since 1991. Now, I'm not trying to brag, and I'm certainly not trying to be proud of the fact that I'm pretty old. But I am trying to tell you I have seen a lot. I have been in marketing in what was originally the materials handling industry, and then the logistics industry, and then the supply chain industry. Hell, you talk about branding, we keep changing our damn name. So, I get that. I understand that more than you know. I also want you to know I've been through we don't have any money, times are tough, or we're doing really well. Why do we need to market? I've been through all that. I've been you. I empathize with you more than you know. But here's what else I know. While I was doing all of that, I also looked at all of these other companies who were consistently and relentlessly doing something to make sure their brand and their products and services were out there. And we all admire them. We all look up to them. And I'm just asking you to be thinking about what we can do to better do this. I'll tell you a quick story. When I came into this industry, I worked with one of the largest material handling companies in the space and thought I was all that in a bag of chips, and had my mentor walk me around a trade show one time where he asked 50 people who my company was and what we did. It did not go well. Okay, so I just want you to know I feel you, but we want to help. That's what we're here to do. So, Brad, I say all that to say this. You have, I don't know, because of the decades you've been doing this, the way of talking to people and then evaluating where they are and where they need to go. Can you just give us a high-level view of how you do that? Because you've been doing it so well for so long. I would love to encourage them that no matter where they are, they can get to where they're going, but they're going to need some help on figuring out what that combination of things is.
Yeah, I mean, the first thing I always do is listen to their story. What is their story? Where are they coming from? What are they trying to convey to our audience? And by that, I just knowing what I know about the products that we offer, how they work, who tends to be attracted to which ones and all that. I basically give them a direction. I say, I think this would be a great option for you. We typically put out 3 different options at different budget levels and all that, and then you could mix and match and tweak from here and there. I say back in the old days with the magazine, there was only so much we could do.
Right.
But now again, there's so many forms of communication and ways to tell the story, and I think you need to do it. You need to be creative, and that's what we're doing here at Supply Chain Brain. Every year we come up with new creative products, and that can really help you to achieve the goal. So Yeah, we listen to everybody's stories and figure out a way to tell them.
Yeah, and as I was telling my story and you were just talking about yours, and again, I'm speaking to the supply chain marketing professional. If we're being vulnerable and we're coming, into the marketplace, I can see us looking at our boss and saying, I'm responsible for making our company well known. I'm responsible for making the product that we have front of mind when somebody is looking to do what we do. But I'm not necessarily sure I'm given, enough in the way of budget, enough in the way of time, enough in the way of resources. And I know you hear that all the time in a variety of different ways. But one of the things I want to do with the supply chain marketing professional today and throughout the series of this show is help them to know we understand that. Can you just kind of shed some light on, maybe how you think about that and how you would communicate that?
We have a whole client relations team now. I mean, it's huge. There's more client relations people than there are salespeople. Once you implement or put together a campaign with us, we are here to help, and we're here to guide you along the way. Make sure that we're executing on everything. Between our freelancers, our production people. We have, as you know, Ralph, a whole team that's just doing webinars. We have more resources to help you than ever before. A lot of times, one-person marketing shops or two people or maybe three at most, and they're dealing with different resources, different publishers. It's not apples to apples anymore. You don't just, we'll buy a full page with Brad and then we'll buy a full page with these three companies. No, we're all offering different types of products. So it can really make your head spin. It makes my head spin a little bit. But for the marketer, oh wow, where do I go here? And so we're here to help you. And we just keep adding more service people than even salespeople.
That is great. Well, listen, I can't tell you how insightful this has been for me. And I know the audience has loved to hear it, especially from somebody in your position that's been around as long as you have. But I would be remiss if I let you go without asking you, okay, how's the pickleball game going?
Well, we're hosting clients at the US Open these days, which is a lot of fun. I asked my dad before the Open started, I said, how many times do you think I'm going to say the word pickleball in the next week and a half? And he said, oh, I think that's going to be about 120. I said, Dad, you're way off, way low. And it's not because I'm going to just start saying pickleball all the time. It's just going to come up. It's part of the vernacular now. Everybody's talking about it. I mean, so pickleball's going well. It's thriving.
I love it. I love it. I especially love when you and I have meetings and you come to the meetings with your medals on. That's always a treat for me.
Where else am I going to wear them?
That's right. Well, listen, thank you very much. Really appreciate it. For those of you who are watching and listening, you do not know how valuable this last half hour has been. To get Brad Berger, the president publisher of Supply Chain Brain and Supply Chain Brain Media, any place locked in for half an hour is huge. So Brad, thank you. Audience, thank you very much. We're very much looking forward to helping you folks. Please reach out. Let us know how we can help you. And until then, remember, the reason we do marketing is to reduce or eliminate outbound sales, because at the end of the day, instead of you knocking on doors, they should be knocking on yours. Have a great day.
To discover how you can blend your marketing instruments into a harmonious sound and rise above the noise, schedule a 30-minute consultative session. Email morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. Again, that email address is morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. If you have any questions or episode suggestions, you can send those to morgan@supplychainbrainmedia.com. Thank you for joining us for this episode of the Supply Chain Marketing Show presented by Supply Chain Brain Media. This is an omni-channel production in conjunction with PWE Media.